Hi, everyone. Diane Willa, Customer Success Coach here at Supermums in the US. And I am again joined by Maria Stanford, who is a Customer Success with Supermums in the UK. And Happy New Year. We haven't seen everybody in a couple weeks, right? I think our last broadcast was right before the holidays. So we're happy to be back and talking to you live. And today we're going to talk about something that probably most of you are doing right now, and that is setting goals for 2023. But we're going to talk about our tips and what works for us, and really our standpoint as a career coach, what works for others when setting your goals and intentions, and then sticking to them. Right, Maria? That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Setting
Definitely.
goals might be easy, but the hard part is sticking to them.
Absolutely. And I think, this is where kind of, that New Year's resolution piece really kind of comes in because, we've got a new year, haven't we? And we want to do really amazing, wonderful things. And I think sometimes with our New Year's resolutions, we're kind of almost setting ourselves up to fail a little bit because we create these big goals, but then maybe don't kind of really drill down onto, how achievable are they and how you can break them down to make sure that you do have that long-term success and reach that goal. So I've always been in that resolution percentage where you kind of set something and then it's not happened until obviously I had coaching myself and have since become a coach where it is all really about kind of that goal setting and intentions, isn't it?
I think, that's correct because what was the statistic? There's a statistic about, people that set their goals in January. And I think most of them are, they're really motivated. You're motivated in January when you set your goals. And then by like March, you're starting to, that motivation drops, significantly. So, we want to kind of talk about like, well, what are the best practices then in setting those goals and sticking to them? And part of that is exactly what you said is, are they achievable goals, right? Are they something that you feel like you can achieve, or are we setting the bar too high? And it's important to understand that what's achievable for you and understand, like you said, from a coaching perspective, we know you might need help, right? And understanding what those goals are and what's really achievable for you.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of think that goal setting piece and intentions, go hand in hand really, because to achieve your goal, you need to also have daily intentions that help that mindset to achieve those goals, right? So, that's something that I think is a really, a match made in heaven, really. If you're focusing on those, I think, and I'm sure that you'll agree, Diane, when you're first setting goals, it's really important to actually do a bit of groundwork with that. Yes. So, kind of actually really get clear on what your priorities are and what you want to look on, what you want to look to work on for that year ahead. But then also set smart goals around that.
Right. And think about your end goal, right? What do you want to achieve with this goal? It's not just enough, one of the big goals for a lot of individuals, is get healthy or lose weight in the new year. But what is your end goal? Like, why are you wanting to do that? What is the purpose of that? So sometimes it's understanding, what your motivation is for that goal and maybe what the end goal is, that can help you achieve that. Because if we don't really have a clear picture of vision, where we want to see ourselves after that goal, it's really hard to stick to that goal. Because you're questioning, the motivation and the reasoning and the why behind it. So I always talk about that too. Like, what is the why behind you, doing this or setting, these goals for yourself? Think about that. Think about the end goal, the long term. And then maybe you can figure out, the steps you need to take to get to that goal.
Yeah. And I think you've got it absolutely spot on there, haven't you? Because it's about having that visualization piece. And I think actually in goal setting, that's really important. You have to have a really clear idea of what your 10 is, what your actual what you've achieved. Right. Because otherwise you'll just keep working and you'll have no idea when you've hit it. So you've got to have that end picture very clearly in your head. But then also your why becomes your driver, because when you've got a really clear why, that is what keeps you pushing. you know, when you kind of perhaps start to procrastinate when you get to March, for example,
right.
You know, that can then be your driver. You know, you tap into your why again, and that then keeps pushing you a little bit forward, you know,
Right.
each time. And I kind of think around that kind of goal setting, and when I said about SMART goals, you know, in reference to that, what I mean by kind of SMART goals, and I'm sure that you probably use this kind of structure as well, but, you know, we want our goals to be really specific.
Right.
That's where you have to do that piece before. So, you know, they have to be measurable. So you have to be able to, you know, see what you're achieving. They have to be achievable.
Yes.
You know, realistic, and you have to have a time frame.
Right.
You know, so that's generally kind of the framework that I would work around a goal.
Right.
But then also, like what you said, you know, and what I said originally in the beginning, where you kind of get that really big goal, because that's what you're looking at, that can really become a little bit overwhelming, can't it?
It can. So it's
daunting.
And I think we don't stress enough the importance of chunking down, you know, breaking down your goals. And taking those small steps, so that if you reach that point in March where you feel, you know, your motivation is wavering a little bit, if you've achieved something prior to that, you know, because you're setting smaller goals for yourself. So instead of setting this one big goal, I think that's what we do. Okay, what are our resolutions, you know, in January? And people, you know, will set their goals and they're thinking about it in the whole, you know, as a year-long process. But I think what we need to do is be like, okay, by March, you know, I hope to have reached this point for myself. And there's also no reason that you can't reassess your goals at that time. And I think that will keep you motivated for the rest of the year. You know, so if by March you reevaluate and you look at and you say, what have I achieved so far? What am I proud of that I've done? What can I look forward to doing then for the rest of the year? So I think that's part of it. And that works, you know, works well for me. Is, you know, within the next couple months, this is what I would like to work on and what I would like to do. And then kind of rewarding yourself after those 2 months have gone by and reassessing and then thinking about the next 2 months. So there's no reason you have to set this huge goal and set a timeline of a year to achieve it. Because then I think that's really hard. It's hard to stay motivated. We always think in bite-sized pieces. You know, we're in that world today where everything needs to be kind of bite-sized and instant gratification. So setting a goal for 12 months is nice. You know, that's your long-term goal, but making sure that you're, you know, also doing these small steps to achieve that goal, I think is really worthwhile and can keep you motivated.
Yeah. And that does keep you accountable at each point as well, doesn't it? Because, you know, I think when you've got that big goal, and this is, you know, how I would look at it, if you've got that big goal and you, again, you might have a number of those big goals depending on what your priorities are for the year. You would then start to, as you say, chunk them down, and then you work backwards, really, don't you? Okay, what do I need to actually achieve that realistically with an achievable time frame? And you can't do that in one big chunk. You know, it does have to be small journey steps. But I think also you've really touched on you know, some top tips that I'd written down, which was, you know, to write your goals down. Because, you know, a lot of the time we kind of, like, I've already thought this, right, okay, you know, I'm going to get on the treadmill and I'm going to start exercising because I really want to start 2023 in that kind of mindset. But actually, it's proven that if you start to write your goals down and start to plan them and do that planning piece around what you want to achieve, then you're going to have much more success.
And I think just the physical act of writing it down, I talk about this too, because, you know, I'm a note taker and I take notes. I like writing. For me, you know, and typing on the computer is great and everything too. But for me, actually writing it down and physically writing something down, you know, something happens between your brain and you know, your hand when you're writing it, that you're actually putting it into, you know, into motion. I feel like it's making it more real. So I like to do that too. I like to write, you know, down notes, my goals, you know, that's what makes me remember what to do and motivated. If you have a whiteboard, I even have a whiteboard, old school whiteboard that I like write down during this week. This is what I'd like to do. Schedule it on your calendar, right? I mean, you're using a calendar, schedule it on your calendar like you would any other activity. So your goals, write it down. We're all used to scheduling things on our calendar, like doctor's appointments, kids' activities. Will make the same for your goal. Schedule it down, for this day, Tuesday, every week, I'm going to work on this, towards my goal. So if you have it there in writing and it's staring at you and it's giving you a notification, you can put the notifications on your calendar. Then you're working on it, you're held accountable to it. So I think that works. That worked for me. And I think it could work for a lot of people too.
Yeah. And I think when we hold things in our minds, we're busy people, aren't we? So we kind of forget, or something else is another priority. Whereas if you've got that reminder, I always say to people and clients, if you then don't get to that at that precise time, you reschedule it then for a time, but it's rescheduled, right?
Rescheduled, right. Don't let it go.
Yeah. But life might get in the way and it's in your mind and then it's forgotten. Whereas if you've got something scheduled or in a diary or something that you can visually look at, you can reschedule it. So you're more likely again to then take action on it when you can.
Right.
And I kind of think, when you've written those goals down, I think it's really important to then have a look and reflect on the previous period. I've just done that. So I've set some goals around for 2023 and set my intentions. And I think, having that reflection piece, sometimes we can get to the end of a year. And if we've had a really challenging year, we can get to the end of a year and we kind of think, actually, I've not achieved anything. And it's been a really bad year and I can't wait to see the back of it. And I just want to get into a new year. But actually, when you do that reflection piece, there's actually so much that you would have achieved in that year that actually you kind of think, oh, the good has actually outweighed the bad here. But you can only remember perhaps the, those really big challenges or that negative, something negative that's happened. So doing that reflection piece helps you to, really kind of see what your successes are, but also your failures. Our failures are part of life, and that's the only way that you can learn and progress. So it's also important to unpick those, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree, because and I go back to like what I said in the beginning was, going back to the why. Like if you do a reflection and you see, what you achieved over the past year, but maybe where your failures were, you can understand then, well, why did I not achieve this? Was it a question of setting the bar too high? Was it a question of not scheduling and not creating that time for myself? Was it a question of, some other factors that happened? So if you're understanding, why that occurred and why you had those failures, you can kind of, move on and set more realistic goals and understand your behavior and motivations behind it. Maybe you're just not motivated for it. Sometimes we set goals because we think we should, achieve this because, maybe, in our workplace, in our career, in our family life, it's something that other people are doing, but is it really right for you? Are you really motivated to get that done? And if you're not motivated for it, why aren't you motivated? Why aren't you looking forward to, that goal? So I agree with you, that reflection to understand your motivations and your, behavior towards those goals is really important. It really is important. It's just like what we talk about all the time at Supermums and our training. Is it the right fit for you? Is this training the right fit for you? Is this career the right fit for you? We help you to understand if it is. It's the same thing with your goals. It has to be the right goal for you. You have to be motivated for it. And it has to be the right fit for you.
Yeah. Because ultimately you want the success.
Right.
You want to achieve it. So, if you're doing something and it's not aligned, then that success is not going to come, or it's not going to be something that you're really going to, celebrate, for example. You might say, oh, I've done that. Brilliant. But if it's something that you really is aligned with your values and your goals, then, you are going to want to celebrate that. So I think that's a really, it's a really good piece of advice, isn't it? To just do that inner work and really kind of unpick that. And I guess then that kind of leads to, you know, having that support network around you
Yep.
when you're setting goals, and, you know, perhaps having that accountability, because you're going to write it down. So we know that that's going to help. But actually, we also know that if we share a goal with somebody, a trusted person, friend, loved one, whoever that might be, then you're more likely to achieve it, because you've got that accountability piece, haven't you?
Yeah, you've shared it. You know, you and I have posted some of our goals for 2023 on LinkedIn here to talk about it. So when you're putting it out there in the universe, it does kind of make it, you know, it makes you feel accountable to your goals, and you want to be able to achieve them. So I think you're right. You're sharing that. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to go and post it like we did on LinkedIn, but talk to, you know, a friend or a family member. Be like, this is what I want to achieve for this year. This is what I'm looking forward to doing. And, you know, you've told somebody, you've put it out there. So that might, you know, be greater motivation for you to then go ahead and make sure you're working on that. I agree with you.
And I think also you could challenge, you know, you could take that challenge a bit further, as in, you know, you could ask them to make sure that they check in.
Yep.
To keep you accountable, because obviously we would do that as coaches. You know, that is part of that coaching relationship, is that accountability, isn't it?
Right.
And, you know, if you trust somebody enough, you could, you know, perhaps do that communication piece with them, so that you are verbally kind of sharing what you've achieved and, you know, where you're at. Because again, it's a bit like that reflection piece. If you're not achieving those goals, then you need to do a little bit of work, don't you, to kind of go, actually, what were my obstacles? How am I going to stop those obstacles from occurring so that I can achieve it? So it's nice to do that with somebody in that safe environment, isn't it?
Right. I agree. Someone that you can, you know, fully support. We talk about that, you know, your support network. And if you're thinking about it right now when we're talking about this, it is really important to have that support network and others that surround you. So someone that you know, is you're confident that you can talk to, and will be there to, you know, help you and support you, and maybe be your cheerleader along the way. But then also in your support network, have those others that are going to be realistic to you as well, and tell you, you know, their opinion and what they feel, and they're not afraid to share that with you. And then also in your support network, having someone that is going to be that, you know, kind of that career mentor for you, that mentor that you can have and you can go to. So when you're setting your goals, think about that too as well, like who in your support network can help you to achieve those goals. And if you feel like you don't have that support network, think about that and have that be one of your goals for this year as well. You know, making sure that you have that support network, because I really do think that, you know, everyone needs that in their life to help them achieve, is people who are there for them, people who will be realistic about their goals and tell them the truth and be honest, and people who will push them and motivate them. Everybody needs that in their life.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. So if you haven't got it, then go and find it. I think that's, you know, find your tribe, isn't it? To be able to push and motivate you. And everybody needs that one friend who's going to be really super honest.
Yes. You might not like it all the time, but
might not like it, but you know, we do learn from that, because it is, you know, sometimes we're so hard on ourselves, aren't we? So, you know, actually we need that person who's going to perhaps challenge us in that way that we wouldn't challenge ourselves, or, you know, so I think that is also really important. So great points there. And I think probably kind of the biggest one for me, and something that I always say to anybody that I work with, even super mums, you know, who are going through the course or have come out the other side and are having that coaching piece, you know, is we have to celebrate our successes, right? So when we look at that big goal, it's going to take us a long while potentially to perhaps get to that 10 out of 10. So and that big goal piece, but actually we're achieving things daily. And this is where this kind of comes, you know, with goals and intentions. So, you know, when you can set your goals, and then the intention, you know, around that is really then that kind of mindset piece. You know, what do you want to achieve by the way of intentions daily? So I've done a couple actually for the year, but also then I will then factor in, okay, how can I actually achieve those intentions daily?
Right.
So that I'm in the right mindset, so that I'm actually still kind of, they're working parallel together. And I think the great way about doing that is, when you've got those intentions and you're celebrating those successes, is, have a daily intention. So I'm going to plug a book here. So The One Thing, is a brilliant book by Gary Keller. And I always say to people, because we sometimes get sidetracked on a daily basis of all of these plates and things that we're juggling. And then we get to the end of the day and we've done a lot, but we kind of, again, focus on those things that perhaps we haven't done. Perhaps we haven't had the right intentions. Perhaps we haven't even worked on our goal that day or that week because other things have taken priority. But we really need to get specific with that one thing, that one intention for the day. And then once you've done that one intention, celebrate it, right? Because you've done it. Everything else then, it doesn't matter. But the one thing that's going to really make you feel good, to know that you've achieved something, focus on that. Other things will still get done. But when you've done it, you're going to feel really good. And then to celebrate that, we celebrate big things, but we're so good at kind of not celebrating those small journey goals that we succeed in weekly, monthly.
And we're so used to celebrating everybody else's, but we don't celebrate our own.
Yes.
I think we're all guilty of that. And you brought up a good point too. The one thing, and it's Keller. Is it Kell? I was trying to put it in our
Kellar.
Okay. I think that's great. Is having something that you can actually learn from. So, setting those learning goals and learn from to make yourself better, at doing these goals. And the other thing that you brought up, which I thought was really good when we were talking about, is making things a habit. Like you were saying, every day do that one, thing. And I think that goes to speak on making it a habit. If it's something you can do every day, becomes habitual to you. So if you're doing something every day and learning something every day, or doing that one thing every day, it becomes a habit. And it becomes part of your life. So I think that's another way to just ensure that you're working towards your goal. Every day I'm going to get up at this time and I'm going to do a reflection for 5 minutes on, what I want to achieve for the day. If you start doing that every morning, or if you start thinking about, the one thing I'm going to do every day, it really is going to become part of your life, and it's going to become, your habit. So, that's great. I think that's great. And I think I put the book on there. So good. Oh,
I always recommend this book. I should really kind of, I should be on royalties, because every person that I speak to say, just read this, because we're always trying to juggle lots of things. We're always kind of quite ambitious with our goals, I think, in general. You'll know this, when you work with somebody, they're generally, people are quite ambitious and they're go-getters. But actually, it can be daunting and it can be overwhelming. And so when that overwhelm creeps in, because you're perhaps trying to juggle all of these things, you're then more likely to procrastinate, or you're more likely to kind of prioritize. I've actually had clients who prioritize ironing and washing over kind of the goals, right? Because it's a better distraction, because that's too scary over there. So I'm just going to go and do the things that I know, that are just going to keep me occupied. Right. And so, these are the things that we naturally do to stop us from moving forward. Right. So if we can take away that overwhelm and just focus on the one thing, as you say, you're exactly right in those routines. Once that then becomes routine, your focus of your one thing is going to change. Right. Then it'll be something else, and that then comes part of your routine. But those habits and that focus is really important, isn't it? When you're kind of doing that daily, then you're working on your mindset daily.
And put some enjoyment in there too. Some of our goals, like, we're really hard on ourselves with our goals. And, again, I always go back to the diet, because everybody sets goals for themselves. And I think it's great, because overall, if your intention is to be healthier, happier, and have more energy throughout the day, then doing that dieting is great. But, if you're doing it because everybody else is doing it, that might not be the best intentions. And I think, put some enjoyment into your goals too as well. Put something in there that like for me, one of my goals too is I want to start, I was a big reader before. I used to read a lot. I've kind of put that aside to be like, I'll read when I have, when I'm on vacation or I have time off, or those are the only times that I pick up a book. And again, I'm one of those people that I like a physical book in my hand. That helps me. It helps me relax. And I've told myself this year, and I've just ordered some new books just for fun, fun books to read, to be my relaxation and be like, okay, I'm going to do this as my relaxation technique because this is what I like to do. And I don't want to think of it as being, just kind of a reward or something that I do when I have time off. I want it to be part of my, my ritual that makes me feel, feels happy, takes me to my happy place. So my reading, my exercising, I'm making sure I'm scheduling that in as well, because I've noticed that that's the only time when I'm exercising that I completely don't think about anything else. I said, give me that time and I don't think about anything else. So make sure you're incorporating those things in your life that are also, make you happy, and provide for that quiet, private place just for yourself. And it'll then get you motivated for those harder goals that you've set for yourself too.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point, because we kind of, we tend to set those goals, don't we? Perhaps around professional goals, but also it is around how do you fill your cup? Because we don't do that enough, do we?
Right.
So you doing that is brilliant, because that's obviously your happy place. It allows you to kind of close your mind, refocus, and then you can come back and really work on something in the very best place.
Right.
When we just keep going and keep going and keep going. So actually our personal goals, are really, really important. But for me, one of mine was actually to have more fun this year. Because I think I'm getting older and I kind of feel a bit unfun, right? And so I'm kind of thinking, it's even just little things about, just kind of dancing in the kitchen or
right. That
like
happy outlook, right?
I'm going to find my inner child in 2023, and these are
That's a great goal.
Things, because you are exactly right. We have to start with us, and then everything else then kind of comes out from there, doesn't it?
That positive mindset, I've talked about that too, is it's hard. Sometimes the negative thoughts come into us, into our head, even when we don't try, but having that positive mindset. So if you're thinking about daily intentions, maybe start off with that positive intention for the day. It gets you set on the right path, to keep your goals. So that's great. That's wonderful. Being more fun. That's
more fun. I'm reading more. I mean, again, these are brilliant things, aren't they? To kind of just tap into. And I think what I love about goal setting is that you can get creative. So you've got those kind of, you've got those kind of basic ones that most people will start the new year with: professional, career, kind of health. But actually with goals, you can have a lot of fun with them. You can set financial goals, you can, you can set things, learning goals,
that's some of my most favorite goals to set, is learning goals. Like if I find something really interesting and I want to learn something, I love doing that. I love setting those goals, and learning more about even if it's just like, something more creative, like how to create something. You've seen something and you're like, wow, that's really great. I want to try to recreate that or do that. That is some of my favorite goals, because I think when you're sparking your creativity too, it's, everything else in your mindset changes too. So, tap into that creative side this year, 2023, and see what you can do with your creative side. So I know we're like almost at a half hour. Can you believe it? We haven't talked in 2 weeks,
but we haven't seen each other for a few weeks. So obviously this
is why we're talking so much. Yeah. It's so funny, but I think we had some really great tips. I mean, we talked about writing it down, write down your goal, and here, if anybody, you can comment here. This can be an easy way for you to put it out there, to share it, is write down your goals, or at least maybe one goal for 2023, sharing it with somebody or putting it out there in the universe. Reflection I know Maria talked a lot about this. Reflection is so important. So reflect on your past, goals and reflect on the why. Why did you achieve something? Why did you maybe not achieve something in the past? And reflect and know yourself and understand, where you want to be for 2023. Think about your long-term goal, but then chunk them up and, break them down into achievable goals. Use that SMART method that Maria talked about, making sure that they're simple, measurable, achievable, realistic, and you have a time frame to achieve those so that you can keep yourself accountable on those goals. Celebrate your successes. Don't just celebrate everybody else's successes, but make sure that you celebrate your own. And when we say celebrate, we don't mean that you have to make an announcement, right? A lot of people like to make an announcement like, this is what I achieved. This is what I did. If you're not comfortable, just with celebrating everything, just celebrate yourself, thank yourself and be like, that was really great. Think about that. It's all part of that reflection. But make sure you're giving yourself credit for what you did do and what you did achieve. And then doing one thing, making it a habit. I think that was really great advice from Maria, is doing that one thing, make it a habit daily, and have it be part of your routine. So I think those are all great tips. Anything else, Maria? I don't know. I'm sure I missed something. We talked for quite a long time. Yeah.
We've spoken a lot, haven't we? So I think brilliant tips on both sides there. And I think it's something that we could talk about for hours and hours and hours, right? Because this is kind of, what we love to be able to do with trainees, with clients. And I mean, the only thing that I would say is, and I think you touched on this right at the beginning or towards the beginning, was, you might set out these goals, but life is life. You're going to get some really big curveballs being thrown your way throughout the year. Doesn't mean to say that you're not going to have the success that you want, but it might just take you a little bit longer, or you might just have to readjust. So reviewing that, isn't it? Reviewing it regularly, because actually our priorities, unrealistically, they're not going to stay the same for a whole 12 months.
Right.
Things will come in,
change,
and so it's always kind of just do that review piece. It's not that you've failed, or it's not that you're not going to succeed, but you just might have to just make a new plan, make a new goal around it. Because we all set off in the best intentions, but we never know what's around the corner.
Right.
So just keep reviewing.
And something else could come up. If you're in our training program and you're seeing yourself, training and once you're done with your training program and you've achieved something, you might be like, I'm setting another goal for myself for the rest of the half of the year. So, so you're right. You want to adjust because you feel like, you've accomplished something and then you want to adjust for the rest of the year. So you're right. Things change. You might be able to shoot, for a little bit bigger goals after that time frame, or you might need to look back and be like, okay, what did I do those last 3 months? And, is there something that I could change or adjust to make sure that, the next half of the year is going to, take me in the direction that I want to go. So readjust, reevaluate, think about some new goals if you want. There's no reason you can't do that. You don't have to set your goals for 12 months and that's it. You can definitely reevaluate and think, and life happens. So that's great advice. So well, we appreciate being here today. Hopefully you've gotten some good tips from us. And again, it's really all about, start off with that reflection and adjust and set those realistic goals. We hope you achieve them for 2023. If part of your goal is, getting into a new career in Salesforce, we can help, right, Maria? We're here at Supermums to help. We love doing that. We love talking to individuals about how we can support you in your sales goals and in your new career ventures. Come talk to us, reach out to us. And Diane at supermoms.org, Maria at supermoms.org, or you can just simply go to our website, Supermums website, learn about our training. And we have lots of good training coming up in 2023. So something that will fit everybody.
Yes. I'm just typing. I'm not doing very well at multitasking.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So great. But we'd love to hear from everybody, or leave us a comment and we'll get back to answering you. And again, feel free to reach out to us. Again, it's 2023. I can't believe it. I'm still one of those, I have a hard time writing down the date until probably February. Like I'll still be putting 2022. So that's my problem too. I've got to make sure that I'm remembering it's actually 2023. But definitely, reach out to us, chat with us. Feel free to leave a comment, and we'd be happy to talk to you or set up a time to talk.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Diane, for hosting. You're a wonderful host.
Thanks, everybody. It was good to talk again, and we'll see you same time next week.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.